Very good evening to everyone. I, Neodev Ghosh, Peace House Vice Captain,
And I, Vedant Narayan, Unity House Vice Captain.
welcome you all to the digital platform of BHIS Council Chronicles.
BHIS has always been innovative with respects to its extracurricular activities.
BHIS Chronicles time and again has been making lovely endeavors to open the arena of widespread knowledge to the vast spectrum of speakers from different fields.
BHIS Student Council takes the initiative with an enterprising and informative session with Ms. Meenu Arora.
Ms. Meenu Arora is Assistant Director Outreach in Kriya University, with the passion to counsel students to make informed career decisions and how to be prepared for Industry 4.0. She is a counseling psychologist and life skill trainer, having experience of over more than 20 years in dealing with students, parents, and teachers.
She has received Life Empowerment Award 2018 from the Center of Educational Development and Innovation in Guidance and Counseling 2018 from ASEAP, a trained counselor from NCERT, and having done Masters in Education, Masters in Physiology, Diploma in Training and Development. She specializes in psychometric testing, personal counseling, parental counseling, educational counseling, career and college counseling.
Along with conducting workshops for counselors, students, parents, and teachers, she also conducts counselors training workshops and design curriculum for various counseling courses.
We would like to welcome our guest speaker for the day, Ms. Meenu Arora, who will throw light on the skills required for 21st century and
Not wasting much time, let's ask a guest speaker to talk magniloquently on this topic, which will lead us to give approbation for her magnificent work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neo and Vedant and Dr. Smita Agarwal and Billabong School for giving me this opportunity to interact with parents and students. So just give me a second to share my screen. As they have already introduced me, I represent Kriya University and I'm a counseling psychologist. So it is Masters in Psychology. So I hope my screen is visible. That is the first question which anybody asks.
Yes,
it's visible, ma'am.
I just hope not to ask this question when we meet in person. So parents and students, today we are here to understand how the world is changing and what kind of skills do we require in Industry 4.0. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, it's very important to understand what is it exactly, because I understand that here students are from different grades. So let's try to understand what is Industrial Revolution, which we keep talking about. You know, Industry 1.0 is refers to that particular era when steam and power engines were invented. So, you know, many people who were earning their livings by bullock carts and other kind of modes of communication, you know, they all of a sudden they lost their jobs and they learned new skills to cope up with the new steam engines and power engines. So many new jobs will be created. Industry 2.0 is when mass production of assembly lines were introduced. So again, many labor forces, they lost their jobs because industries did not require them, or they required a different kind of skills. So people reskilled, upskilled themselves, and you know, they tried to survive in that particular industry. Industry 3.0 refers to when the computers were introduced, when the IT systems and robotics was introduced. So many typists, stenographers, you know, all these people lost their jobs and people learned to be DTP or data, you know, entry operators. And, you know, many, they learned how to type on the keyboard rather than the typewriter. And in fact, many CEOs of the company, they could manage their work on their own. So many people stopped having a personal secretary also. And, you know, if you look at today's world also, you know, with the help of AI, even if I speak, you know, I can type without using my hands, and I can maintain all my Google Calendar, so I don't need any personal assistant also. So, you know, with the industry 4.0 is basically where AI, artificial intelligence, and technology has creeped into our daily life. And because of which many conventional careers have changed their face value. Their, like if you look at the teaching job is not limited to chalk and board. It has all, AI enabled. Even therapies are AI enabled nowadays. Many IBM has already come up with a software which can do the diagnosis of the medical reports, which are more accurate than the human doctors. So AI has creeped into every part of our life. And when we talk about the industry 4.0 here today, employers have already started talking about industry 5.0, which is basically humanizing technology. How technology can be used in the best possible way so that the human power can be optimized, so that the human skills, if I can use this word, or soft skills, can be maintained. Because human beings cannot work like machines. Maybe machines can work like human beings. Robotics can do certain work which we do, but we cannot be machines. The soft skills are our forte, right? So today we talk about deep learning, machine learning, AR, augmented reality, virtual reality. So everything has changed, in today's world. Now we have one phone in which all kinds of, systems, starting from camera and phone and everything, diary, notes, PPT you can be made, all the Google Docs can be there. So everything has concise into one mobile phone, which has again changed, the world at large. So the world is changing not only because of the AI and technology only, it is changing because of you, the new millennials. You people have a different kind of social behavior in comparison to Smita ji or me or the parents. Our social behavior is different. Like a very common example which I keep hearing from students is, younger generation is on Instagram and Snapchat, and the older generation is on the Facebook, right? This is also kind of social behavior. So because of this changing social behavior also, the world is changing fast. Microsoft and other social media companies have already announced that whatever work can be handled from home, please stay at home with pandemic or without pandemic. So they are not allowed to come to the office to work. So you look at a person, think about a person who was thinking, oh, I will work in Facebook or in Google, and this is a fantastic office, a big office. No, nothing. If your work can be maintained from home, please sit at home and work. So my whole concept of a lifestyle changes. Okay. So the new behaviors are coming up. Earlier I remember when we were young, we just used to walk into any relative's house, without any intimation. Now nobody can enter my house without giving me a call. They need to check whether I'm at home, whether I'm free or not. So this is also kind of social behavior, right? Mobility. People are moving into other states, into other countries, not only for education, but for work also, right? So all this is, and globalization. So all this is, changing the work scenario at large. Why this is not moving? Okay. So the World Economic Forum has done this kind of survey, which says that these are the top 10, emerging careers. This is, of course, is not the complete list. But, one thing I would like to tell all the students, that don't get scared, when people are saying that the world is changing. It's okay. The world has changed in the past also, right? And again, jobs are disappearing because of AI. Then 133 million new jobs are also being created. 20 years back, nobody thought that, a person who is good in gossiping will get a job maybe in WhatsApp or in Google or in Facebook, for writing codes, right? So everybody has their own potential, and there is a place for it. The only thing is you need to see that how technology is applied in your career, what you are doing. So these are the new age careers which are coming up. So when we talk about, for example, many times students ask, what are the careers related to commerce? Now, earlier I used to say, oh, chartered accountancy, cost accountancy, company secretary, finance. But now the phase of the career is changing. Now, if you're a commerce student, for example, you need to know about cryptocurrency. You need to know about blockchain, right? If you are, if you want to combine biology and chemistry or biology and math, this is very much possible. When we talk about technology, then these are the new terms which have come up: IT architects, digital marketing, cloud computing. So all these new careers are emerging. And not to worry, even if you don't know all the names today, you have to choose the courses which are available today. And then maybe later on, you will build on those skills and you will find a place for yourself. So the important question for today's millennial is, what do employers really looking for? You know, when I complete my schooling and I apply for my undergrad program, I should go for, the employer will look for my degree or my skill set. And the answer is that they will look for both. Okay, but in a different way, in the sense that, you know, many companies have already announced that they don't want confirmed employees. We are moving towards gig economy, GIG, gig economy. Gig economy is where you will not be having permanent jobs. Like those were the times, you know, when we started working, people used to get, okay, this is a good company, get into this company, they will give you pension and then you can retire from this particular company. But now it is not so. Now, you know, maybe you people, when you enter the world of work, you will be changing your careers maybe 3-4 times. I'm not talking about jobs. There's a difference between job and a career. As a teacher, I can work in different schools, different jobs, okay? But as a teacher, if I change my career to something else, you know, I'm talking about that. So you people will be changing you. So you need to be very, very flexible because the world is demanding that. If I give you my example, in 96, I started working as a counseling psychologist, worked in NCRT, worked in MNCs, then I joined a school. And in school, I joined as a counseling psychologist, but they told me to teach psychology. I said, okay, you know, I'm talking about flexibility, changing careers. So I said, okay, and I started teaching psychology, plus I started doing counseling. I spent 25 years in the school sector. And recently I moved to the higher ed in the outreach department, right? Which is a little different. So I'm in the education industry only. I am applying my counseling skills. I am applying my psychology, but in a different way. So I can say that there is a little flexibility in my career, not job, but career as well, right? Now in Industry 4.0, a job will require new professional education and new skill set. And we will be talking about that. So when we are talking about Industry 4.0, here is the Industry 5.0. When they are talking about that how machines and robots can allow humans also to work, how human and machines can work together, right? So these are the challenges which we are going to face, that human, machine, and environment, you know, all three go together. And this we have seen during the pandemic situation. You know, when we people sat at home, the environment was pollution free. We could see the sky and the stars. And we became more dependent on the machine. You know, everything shifted on the screen time. So this is something which we have to keep it in mind. And the way the world is changing, as responsible global citizens, we have to make certain decisions so that we can make a balance among human, machine, and environment, okay? And all the careers will be taking care of this. If you talk to any big technological industry also, they are thinking on these lines, that how as a technological company or as an industry, how we can maintain the relationship between human, machine, and environment. Everybody is becoming very, very conscious about it, right? You will see that, you know, people have started doing that vertical planting. All the big buildings are also, you know, have plants all around. So people are taking various kinds of measure within their limits. Then future is all about AI, as we have already discussed. So this becomes very, very important, that when you are moving towards the world of work, along with your IQ, that is the intelligence quotient, you should have the digital quotient also. You know, I can't say that, oh, I can't, I can't, you know, work on computer. You know, it's very tiring for me, or I don't like it. Even if you are a historian, even if you are a psychologist, whichever career you enter into, you need to have the digital quotient. I will say, even if you're a homemaker, you know, you need the digital literacy to order your groceries online, right? Data literacy, because data is becoming the language of 21st century. So if I don't know how to understand data, I cannot survive in my career. So whether I'm a psychologist, I'm a medical professional, I'm an engineer, I'm a computer scientist, data is very, very important. You know, a pandemic, we have seen all data, you know, how many cases are gone. So data is prevalent in each and every area in today's world. And I will give you many more examples. Cognitive flexibility is your ability to adapt to the changing situations. Like I was giving you my example, that how I shifted from one to the other, it is because of the cognitive flexibility. If I'm rigid in my mind that I have done this degree and I will do this only, then I cannot survive. So if the world is changing fast, so exponentially, I also need to change internally. Otherwise, there will be a lot of discrepancy. And if there is a discrepancy, it will lead to a lot of dissatisfaction, right? And these are the soft skills which are required. As I said, intelligence quotient is required, of course, in terms of cognitive flexibility. Otherwise, IQ has lost its value. We believe more in multiple intelligence now. Your digital quotient, and this is the emotional quotient, which is extremely important. This is what will make you different from robots. Whatever work can be done by robots or machines, people don't need you. Industries don't need you in that aspect. Okay, industries need you because you have the EQ, which robots don't have, which artificial intelligence doesn't have. Okay, so when we talk about EQ, the first and foremost important skill of the EQ is being empathetic towards others. Now, when I say being empathetic, it is not, always remember, it is different from sympathy. Okay, it is just putting yourself in the other person's shoe. Now, you might ask that, suppose if I am a computer scientist, why do I need empathy? So, you know, the very fact that today we are meeting on Zoom, there is a lot of empathy involved in this. How? Now, the person who might have developed Zoom might have thought that how a person will behave if they can see somebody online live, right? Or if I'm talking, would I like to just listen to the voice, or would I like to see the person also? You know, you have to think like a user, then only you can develop a website. All the games are developed because they can empathize, because they have empathetic perspective towards the students. Otherwise, no child will be addicted to game. No child will be having, screen addiction. That is happening because people try to apply psychology, or people try to empathize and look from your perspective, right? Then also communication, like suppose, now again, you know, many times students also ask, oh ma'am, I want to become a data scientist. Why do I need communication skills? I don't want to be a journalist, or I don't want to be an orator. So why should I need communication skills? So communication skills are very much required. Like suppose if I'm a data scientist and I have done some research. Now, if I have done some research, data is available, I'm interpreting the data, but if I'm not able to communicate to the public or to my company, to my organization, to my boss, I'm out, because I'm not able to communicate what I have understood. So how will I survive in the industry? So whether you are a data scientist, whether you are an engineer, whether you are in medical professional, whichever career you name it as, communication is extremely important. And not only the verbal communication, but the written communication also. Nowadays, we are surviving on emails and messages, right? So, and then many a times, you know, you get a call back, oh, what did you write? You know, oh, no, I never meant that. When I wrote this, I meant this. Because many times you're not able to pour your emotions into the text. So communication is extremely important. Collaboration, because we are talking about diversity also, because of the globalization, mobility. In every company, you will see that people are coming from different kinds of culture. People have different kinds of belief system. Now, if I am not able to embrace that diversity, again, I will not be able to work in a team. I will not be able to collaborate. And here I would like to emphasize on this thing because, in all this school life, students are told to compete, right? Parents also sometimes compare. We also compare ourselves. Oh, he did so well. I'm not able to do. And many times, we try to be modest and we say, okay, don't compete with others, compete with your own self. Now, all these things are applicable or good to a certain extent. The moment you enter the world of work, nobody wants you to compete. Everybody wants you to collaborate. If you cannot collaborate with other departments of your organization, then it will be very difficult to survive, right? So collaboration is the key word for future. And I always say, take life as running a marathon and not a race, right? Because in race, then you reach alone at the end point. So these two, if I summarize all this, then these are the skills which I need for the industry 4.0. Why? Because the world is very uncertain. That's what we keep saying. It is ambiguous, it is uncertain. We don't know what is going to happen. So you need to be resilient enough to understand this ambiguity, to deal with this ambiguity, to deal with this change. Only then you will be able to survive. And if the world is changing, it will bring new problems. So you need the critical thinking and creative thinking to reach new solutions. You cannot deal with new problems with old solutions. You need new solutions. So you need problem solving skills. And all this is possible only and only if you're a lifelong learner. I cannot say that, oh, after undergrad, my education is going to get over. No. You can see at my back, I still read, okay? I'm working for the last 25 years, but I still need to learn. Otherwise, I will not be able to conduct this webinar. So you need to have a lifelong learner and also a self-directed learner. So to deal with Industry 4.0, you need to have Education 4.0, right? Which is meant for that. And the basic mantra for that is that no subject should be studied in silos today. Gone are the days when, as a career counselor also, I used to tell students, oh, if you're doing history, do it in depth. Now it is not so. Now you have to study every concept from an interdisciplinary approach. You need to understand how to learn. So move from what to learn to how to learn. Till 12th, we have a curriculum and we know we have to finish the syllabus to appear for the exam. But it's important to know now after I finished my postgrad and all the diplomas, then there is no curriculum. So how am I going to survive? That means I should have that intellectual curiosity to know something. Only then I will be able to learn, right? So this 21st century needs reimagination of education. It needs the higher ed institutes which can fill up that gap between the higher education and the world of work. And here I would like to introduce Kriya, because Kriya came up with that conceptualization, and Kriya people thought about all this, what is happening, what is required for future, and this is how they created their curriculum. So Kriya University campus is based in Sri City in Andhra Pradesh, which is 70 kilometers north to Chennai, which is a 40-acre campus. So as you can see on the screen, people from different walks of life. I was talking about interdisciplinary approach. So, and you just can't say that, how things will change. I give you my example. This was my first job when I started working as a psychologist. So I joined a private counseling center, and within a week's time, my boss tells me that, Meenu, you need to prepare a career counseling software. So I'm talking about 96, right? I said, no, I'm a counseling psychologist. I have been trained throughout in psychology. I am not a computer scientist. I will not be able to develop this. He said, no, no, you need to work. And I was so scared, because if I don't do it, then I will lose my job. So what do I do? So I walked up to the IT department and I requested them, see, the boss wants the career counseling software. I'm a psychologist. I cannot work on it. You please develop the software and convince the boss. They said, no, ma'am, let's think about it. They told me to sit in front of the screen, think like a student, empathy, right? And just you keep telling us what do you want to see on a screen as a student. And I followed the instructions. I sat in front of the screen. I started saying that this should come, this should come. If I click here, this should come. And 3 hours we sat. And after that, they showed me a flow chart. They said, ma'am, we will meet you after 15 days. We met after 15 days and the career counseling software was in place. I did not know computer science. They did not know psychology. I empathized. I thought like a student. And I kept saying, and psychology and computer science, they combined and, the software was there. So this is how interdisciplinary approach in the future is required. And having said that, all these economists, academic leaders, industrialists, as you can see, Raghuram Rajan, who was the RBI governor, the industrialist, Mr. Mahindra, entrepreneur Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, all these people, they came together and they thought about all this, that what is required, what is keeping our students, away from the fourth industrial age. And then they curated this curriculum of Kriya University. So at Kriya University, we follow the interwoven learning. We are the pioneers in interwoven learning. And these are the 8 guiding principles. So all the majors, all the courses, we basically provide BA and BSc course, which is a 3+1 system. I will be talking about it. So it follows all these guiding principles. All the majors are very, very writing intensive. We have already studied, we have already understood the importance of communication. All the majors are very research based. It's important to have intellectual curiosity. All the majors are interdisciplinary. In the sense, I will just give one example. And here interdisciplinary means you can choose a major and minor across different disciplines. You can do a major in economics and a minor in psychology, for example. And it is practiced in such a way that a group of students prepared a project on mathematical reasoning through dance, because 2 girls were classical dancers in that particular group. So they presented mathematical reasoning. So this is how, interwoven learning takes place at Kriya. Ethics, because all of us need to take ethical decisions, either as an individual or even if I'm working in an organization, I need to take ethical decisions. Historicity, because every discipline, whatever concept you learn, in school, it has some kind of historical evolution. It's very important to understand how this concept evolved. Like, for example, today, if we are facing this pandemic situation, it's going to become history. History is not about only wars and dates and kings and kingdoms. Okay. So when pandemic will become a history, it's not important to know that when did it start and when did it end. It is important to understand the learnings which are happening because of pandemic, right? All the courses will teach you data analysis, and we follow the immersive learning. That means you will be given all the practical experiences based on your theory, which you do in the class. And of course, all this is done to prepare you for that uncertain world. And to implement this interwoven learning, the Governing Council brought professors from all the leading universities, as you can see. And the beauty of all these leading professors are that they are not only excellent in their own discipline, but they have some other expertise also. Like, as you can see, the first column, topmost, Vishnu Mahapatra, who is a political scientist, is a great poet also, right? Then Akhila Ramanarayanan, the second one, she's a literary scholar, but a great theater artist. Similarly, there is Prayag Akbar, who has written so many things, and on Netflix you can see Laila, which is based on Prayag Akbar's novel. So Ramchand Guha has joined us. So there are different kind of professors with diversified experiences. So Kriya University basically has two schools. One is SIAS, that is the School of Interwoven Arts and Sciences. And one is IFMR, which gives MBA degree for the last 47 years. SIAS is a new 3-year-old school. We have 4 centers, research centers also, JPAL, LEAD, CDFI and IWAGE. And in fact, you must have heard about Abhijit Banerjee, who got the Nobel laureate in economics. Most of the research happened in JPAL and LEAD. So we offer BA, BSc honors courses 3+1. And the 4th year is the optional year. So when you enter Kriya, you do, all the students do these 11 courses, you know, core courses and the skill courses. And if you look at these courses, these are all related to the skills which I just discussed. So all those skills are taken care of in the first year. First year, you don't need to declare your major at all. First year, the professors, the career service department will work with you and will help you to declare your major in the second year. So in the second year, when you declare your major, you can choose the major and minors from these categories. And in fact, you can go for the joint major also. And there is no prerequisite to join any major or minor. Like if you're not a science student, but now you want to study biological sciences as minor, you're most welcome. Or even major, you're most welcome. There is no hard and fast rule, right? So because in the first year, you are studying about the core courses and the skill courses, between year 1 and year 2, you will have the social internships to provide you the immersive learning experience so that you can apply those skills in the real life situation. In year 2, when you have already studied your major subjects, so between year 2 and year 3, you will have industry internships. And in the third year, you will also do a capstone thesis, which is a combination of the research work and the studies. We have different kinds of partnerships with different universities, foreign universities, institutional partnership, government partnership. And all these universities are very, very well curated, very specific. Like the partnership with Stanford means that you can do certain researches, with Stanford. Here is public policy, you can study public policy in your summer course, right? So our career service department is very, very active, that helps students to work on various projects, internships, social impact internships. So the campus, although is away from city, but it's very safe. The CCTVs are there. And in fact, Sri City itself is a very smart city. It comes under special economic zone. It has 187 companies from 27 countries. So that way it itself it's a smart city. So we have doctors available, nurses available on campus, ambulances there 24 hours. So students don't have any problems. If they want to, if there is any need to visit a hospital, because hospital is just 5 kilometers away and we have a tie-up with them. Once a week, our shuttle bus also goes to Chennai. So at Kriya, if you want to enjoy all this, we look for students who are open-minded, who have intellectual curiosity, who are empathetic, who can do a teamwork, and who are creative enough. So there are 2 stages of the admission process. The first stage is the online application, which has a personal story, your academic marks of starting from grade 9 to grade 12. So if grade 9 students are here, please take care of your mark sheets because you will be requiring it. We also need certificates of your co-curricular and extracurricular activities. And if you are, then every application is reviewed in a holistic way. If you're selected in stage 1, then you move on to stage 2, which is Kriya Immersion Day. So on this particular day, there are a combination of group and individual activities, which I can always explain if you have any questions. We keep inviting people from different industries, like CEO of Google Research, CEO of Microsoft Research, CEO EY India. He's a part of a governing council only. So they keep talking to our students. So what happens when they keep talking to students, even students are aware that what is happening, in the real world scenario. So we have different kinds of clubs, which are started by students only. Even the governance Student governance has been made by them. Policies have been set by students only. Suppose if you say, oh ma'am, I would like to, I have this kind of talent and I would like to start a new club, then Kriya University is more than happy to help you in starting that club. These are just a few pictures to show you that how Kriya looks like. This is a typical room. A lot of space is left open because we strongly feel that learning takes place outside the classroom also. So this is a gym area. This is the amphitheater. This is the dining hall. Cafeteria is there on campus because you can't go to the city on and off. So everything is available on campus. You can go to the city once a week in the shuttle bus. This is the library. So all the labs are there, departmental stores, the medical room, the salon, everything is available on campus. So if there are any class 12 or class 11 students here, please make a note that we have an early action round, which starts on October 19th. The deadline is 20th November for the present class 12. And so in total, including early action, we have 4 rounds. So the last one finishes on 31st of May. This is the fee structure. So we do give financial aid. Financial aid is dependent on your family income documents. So if the annual family income is less than 35 lakhs, then you can get the financial aid up to 100%. If it is above 35%, then the financial aid is not available, right? So I will stop here. Smita ji, thank you all the students for listening. And I hope that I will get some questions. I would love to now answer the questions, please.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, there are a lot of questions. Ma'am, Agastya has asked, ma'am, can a machine be edge analytics?
Agastya, I'm sorry, I will not be able to answer this because I'm not from the AI this thing. So we need to find it out. I'm sorry, I will not be able to answer this.
Ma'am, the next question is OEE more efficient than human?
See, studies are still going on, right? So we really can't say anything right now with announcing that, this thing is better than humans. But yes, some studies are showing positive results. Some studies are showing negative results. So the research is not still very extensive. We still need to do more research on them. And only then I think we should make some kind of judgment.
Thank you, ma'am.
Agastya has asked
yes,
all the questions related to AI. So he has also asked, can we decision-making ability in a machine? Yes. To some extent, yes. But again, this is a part of cognitive sciences. So if you want to learn more about it, you need to go in depth of AI and cognitive sciences. I'm not an expert in that area, so I'm sorry. But if I look at a very basic level, yes, even our computer takes certain decisions.
Ma'am, there is a question from Anya that whatever career that people are opting for, all of the skills are required in that same career.
Yes, Anya, because they are required maybe in different permutation combination. Maybe in one career, 2 particular skills are more required than the other, but a combination is required in all the careers. Like I gave you my own example. As a psychologist, I always used to say that, in 98, somebody used to tell me that you do online counseling. And I used to say, people don't have computers, who's going to come for online counseling? And after 20 years, I see that happening, right? So you really can't say that this particular thing. As a psychologist, I'm relying a lot on data, because that gives me an indication that how many people are having, mental problems and or other kind of disorders, and how can we develop certain strategies to deal with it. So you just pick up one career and I can tell you that all these skills are required in that particular career.
Everybody, please ask questions. The floor is open to ask questions. but please mention them in the chat box.
We should always ask a question, whether it is a very simple question or complex. Students, no question is a bad question. If you have anything in your mind, please say it.
And there is a question from Agastya, that is it possible to fully eradicate medical professions, especially doctors,
No, no, of course it is not possible.
by machines? Replace.
Maybe machines, technology can help it. You know, for example, I give you a very simple example. If anybody has a gallstone, then gallbladder needs to be removed. Okay. Then this particular operation earlier used to happen, you know, by cutting the stomach and taking the gallbladder out, because stones cannot be taken out. Only gallbladder has to be removed. Okay. But with the new technology, it is possible to just make 3 holes in your stomach, small holes which are not visible, instead of cutting the stomach, and then they insert some camera, and with the help of that camera, you know, they pull the gallbladder out. Okay, so technology may help in maybe modifying the surgeries, and other equipments are there which can help, but it cannot totally you know, remove doctors. No, not possible.
Ma'am, Viraj is asking, ma'am, I want to concentrate in my studies and I really try hard, but very easily I quickly lose my interest. What should I do?
Okay, okay. So, Viraj, first of all, you're not the only one to face this problem. You know, sometimes I also face problem, right? And I used to face problem when I was in school, and I'm sure that 90% of students who are here are facing the same problem. So that's fine. First of all, let's acknowledge the problem. Secondly, there can be different kinds of distractors. Why are you losing your interest? So I will touch upon different things because I don't know you personally. So, you know, one thing can be that everything can be broken down into micro tasks. For example, suppose after 60 days, your first term is starting, okay? And you have, say, 6 subjects, okay? All the 6 subjects have 10 chapters each. So that means within 60 days, you need to finish 60 chapters. I'm taking the easiest example so that I don't need to do much mathematical calculation. So I need to finish 60 chapters in 60 days, even if I'm not keeping, you know, revision time in my mind. Or maybe I can just take out 5 days, and I plan that 60 chapters are to be finished in 55 days. Then you need to divide it into micro tasks. How? Divide 55 by 60. So how many chapters per day? So if it is 60, then 1 chapter per day. So I say, okay, I will do 1.5, for example, roughly speaking, so that I save some time at the end for revision or maybe for the first exam. So 1.5 chapters is my target for today. Okay. Now let's come down to the second stage. The second stage is that how will I decide which 1.5 chapters will I do? Always have a combination. You know, again, maybe it is your personal choice. Some people say that, oh, I can't study 1 subject in 1 day. I need 2-3 subjects. Okay. So in that case, you have 3 subjects and do half chapter of all 3, right? Or you take biology and do all the 1.5 chapters, your target on that particular day. Now, nothing should be done in mind only. Okay. Because brain travels very fast. While talking to you, I just went to US and I came back. You don't know about it, right? So mind travels very fast. So everything has to be penned down. So don't make a timetable, make your daily targets. Daily targets help because like then in the morning, your mind knows that today you need to finish 1.5 chapters. So you will see that maybe initially you will have a problem in completing those chapters, but slowly and gradually you will be able to do. Plus, these 1.5 chapters should be a combination of difficult topics or difficult subject and easy subject so that you're able to achieve it. You know why I'm saying daily targets? You might be thinking that, oh, everybody talks about this. What is a big deal about it? So you should understand the science behind it. The science behind this is your subconscious mind. You know, when you wake up in the morning, and many times, you know, at night we think that, oh, like today, my meeting started a little early. So at night I was a little, you know, tense that, you know, in the morning I should be able to get up, you know, I should not miss. And I was up before time, and it happens with all of us. You know, we wake up before our alarm clock rings. Why? Because you are fast asleep. Who wakes you up? Your subconscious mind. Because at your subconscious mind at night, you imprinted that I need to get up early in the morning, right? So even if you're fast asleep, you will wake up. If you're walking towards your house from a particular point, then you walk and enter your house only. You don't enter anybody else's house. You don't even check the address. You just walk and enter, right? Why? Because it is there in your subconscious mind. So when you start making these daily targets, your subconscious mind starts working on it. And you start controlling the brain rather than you are being controlled. And that itself is a big thing. Slowly and gradually, you understand how to use your brain. You understand you don't need to do anything else. You will see, once you start gaining success, you know, why people are addicted to games? Because when they win, they feel very happy and they want to win again, right? So same thing happens with daily targets. Once you win, Monday you are able to achieve your target, Tuesday automatically you would like to achieve, because that is the winning situation. Because you will go back to your parents and say, oh, see, I have achieved my target, right? So there's a science behind it. So start working on this. Second very important thing, sorry, Neo, I'm just taking a minute extra. You know, many times
There's no problem. There's no problem.
Okay, thank you. Many times I hear from students, oh, my parents nag me a lot. You know, every time, the moment I keep my books on one side, they will come and they will complain, you are never studying. No, I can't take even a break, right? So I always tell them that make your parents as your personal assistant, right? What is the role of a personal assistant? To remind you about your appointments, to remind you about your time, right? So what happens as a CEO, you don't mind if your secretary is saying, oh, ma'am, you have the next appointment, then you feel very happy. So let the parent remind you that your next appointment is with history. Now it is 7 o'clock, your next appointment is with history. Please finish your appointment, okay? Or your lunch time or your break time is over. Please get back to work. You have another appointment. Also, if you're spending too much of time on one appointment, she will remind you have other appointments also to finish. And this also makes you stress-free, because when I'm studying physics, I will not be worried about chemistry, because I know chemistry has been planned for next day. So I'm going to meet chemistry next day. So I don't need to worry right now. So it solves many purposes, right? So just make SMART goals. That is specific, measurable, which are A is for, see, I'm forgetting what is A for, realistic, and the time bound. So if you make SMART goals, then you will not face this problem. Yes.
Ma'am, Viraj has said, thank you, ma'am. I hope to follow your advice.
Thank you.
Ma'am, there is one question from Agastya. And the question is, I am very slow and people find it abnormal. Am I really? When I write with my left hand, I am fast, but my handwriting is really bad. But when I write with my right hand, my handwriting is okay, but I'm slow. Is it a problem which cannot be overcome?
If I can ask, you are in which class? The child is in which class?
Ma'am, 5. AA.
Okay. So then I will advise your parents to take you to a psychologist, and they do some kind of assessment where they will be able to help you that if you need more time, because you know, sometimes there are some students who are not able to convert their thoughts onto the papers, you know, onto the sheet of paper. They need some time to translate. So there is nothing wrong about it, because your thinking is not slow. Writing is slow. So that's fine. Many students have this kind of difficulty. We call it as a learning difficulty. So then there is a possibility there might be something like this. So it's better that if you meet a psychologist along with your parents.
Ma'am, Agastya is saying that he was already under a psychologist.
Then Agastya, take my number from Smita ma'am. We will talk individually. You can call me.
If there are any more questions, please ask them right now.
And I don't know, right now students are from which class. But one thing I would like to say here, whichever class you are studying in, like I just spoke to Agastya, who's in class 5, and Neo and Vedanta are in class 9. So I'm sure that, people are from different classes. So as far as from career counseling perspective is concerned, I will say that, don't wait for you to reach in the high school, maybe in class 11th and 12th, to make certain decisions, right? Career decisions are life decisions. And it's not that in 10th or 11th overnight, you will get to know something and you will take certain decisions of your life. Even when you're in 5th class or 6th class, just maintain your curiosity. Don't kill that curiosity. And keep learning, the life skill also, because many times we get everything in a platter and we don't know how to deal with failures or how to deal with challenges. Don't shut yourself from learning. Whatever you can learn from the environment, please do learn. Take guidance. Never feel shy in taking help from the other people. Always have your support system. All of you should, have somebody in your mind whom you can go approach and, talk about whatever you want to talk to. That is very, very important. Because when the help is available all around, it's best to take help. That doesn't mean that you are less than something. It just means that you're being more smart, right? Like suppose if you want to rush to the 10th floor and there is a lift also and there are stairs also, then it's your decision, whether you want to take stairs or lift. Lift will save time, right? So don't mind and always ask for help.
Ma'am, not seeing any more questions. Ma'am,
Ma'am, one question.
There are questions.
And there is one question from Benjamin, sir. Sir has asked that his grandson has ADHD. What are the chances that he will be out of this after he is 11 years old?
It's a very debatable question. So, but yes, I have dealt with a lot of ADHD kids, so I can answer that. It's not that you are out of it. The only thing is you have to manage. ADHD is something where the child and the parents have to manage. So if you keep giving him training through behavioral training and behavior modification training, slowly and gradually he will learn how to manage himself. It is not a condition which can be cured, or it is not a disease also. It is just a personality type, I will say, because it is becoming so common and because of various factors. There can be a biological factor, there can be the environmental factor also, because when they are looking at the mobile or screen, it is so stimulating that they don't find the environment so stimulating. So there can be different reasons. So it depends on what is the cause of ADHD in your grandson. It cannot be, it will not, give rise to any other kind of problem. But he can always be trained to manage himself, very independently. There is nothing wrong about it. Maybe he will choose different kinds of careers. He's not fit for those careers in his life where he needs to sit on one place and work.
Ma'am, sir is saying thank you.
Ma'am, Agastya is asking, I would love to type instead of writing. Is that why I want to skip something?
The possibility. That's what I said. If I don't know you personally, it's very difficult to say something, because like, for example, if you allow me, a few years back, there was one child, who said that I can't write. And the mother always used to write them, because, and later on we found that, everything was fine. It was just he wanted to skip writing. So Agastya, so I hope it is not the same thing with you. So there is a possibility, because we are also becoming more techno savvy, and there is nothing wrong about it. So that's what I said, that it is just your preferred way of writing. There is nothing wrong maybe in the connection, and there is no learning difficulty, but it is only your preference style. But sometimes when we are in a system, we need to follow certain systems also. We can't change the system.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, seeing no more questions, we would like to end the session.
Okay. Smita ji, thank you so much. Thank you, Neodev, and thank you, Vedant, and all other parents and students. Thank you, Billabong School, for giving me this opportunity to be here today. Hope to see you again, maybe in some other session.
Yes, ma'am. My pleasure was all ours to have you here, and it was a fantastic session wherein we learned a lot about general things also, as well as the Kriya University also. Hopefully, some students, if they will be having any question regarding Kriya, then I'll surely contact you and forward your number also to them in case if they need to know more about Kriya University. So thank you, ma'am, for such an enterprising and enlightening session wherein we dealt with counseling aspects also, as well as Kriya University also. So a very nice university to send your students to. So if any child is having any query regarding Kriya University, then definitely contact me, and then I'll forward ma'am's number to you regarding Kriya University.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, our heartfelt gratitude to our founder and CEO, Ms. Preeti Agarwal, for initiating such talks which kindle us curiosity and deepens our knowledge. Heartfelt gratitude also for the heartfelt speech.
We convey our gratitude to our speaker, Ms. Neenu Arora, for the dynamic talk.
Thank you so much, everyone, to be a part of this BHIS Council Chronicles.
We will meet again tomorrow on 8th November 2020 at the same time with another guest speaker, Ms. Kanchi Khan.
Stay home, stay safe.
Stay safe. Thank you.